Derby County are set to add a new recruitment operator in the Sporting Intelligence Department, with Ed Smith and Mo Babbitt already working within the role, and Mark Thomas already at Derby County. Who is this new man who Derby County could employ? He goes by the name of Leigh Bromby, who used to work at Huddersfield Town. Now, over the course of the last 12 months, we've heard Derby County talk on occasion about wanting to add to the support system around the manager, obviously now around John Eustace, and Leigh Bromby seems to be the man who looks to be taking that role on an interim period. Now, obviously for Derby County, I think it was just a few months ago we was talking about Patrick Debois from Cardiff City and how he was potentially going to take on that role, but now it looks as if Leigh Bromby is set to take over in that position, but only for the summer transfer window before they get the right man in the job. Now, Dom Dietrich has put out a tweet discussing this, saying that he understands the idea for a permanent role has been put on the ice for the time being, but the club wanted to make sure that they got somebody of seniority in, ready for the summer transfer window. Now, both you and I, as Derby County fans, are well aware of the situation regarding the squad. We know that the squad hasn't been good enough this season, and a lot of people will say that we haven't had enough quality. In my opinion, I think realistically, for the first few months, we didn't have the right manager at the helm, and that ultimately has been shown in the performances of late. But bringing in someone like Leigh Bromby is certainly going to help Derby County with bringing in the right players when it comes to this summer transfer window. I think, if I remember rightly, when Leigh Bromby was at Huddersfield, he had a hand in the transfers of Levi Colwill to Huddersfield Town and transfers like that, which obviously, in my opinion, is a massive step forward from some of the players we've seen at Derby County over the past few years. You look at the signings of Harvey White and Tony Springett, who were loan signings who never really made an impact. You look at some players even this season who we've brought in and haven't necessarily had the impact that you probably would have wanted them to have, but ultimately, especially in that January window, Clark has been an excellent signing. Obviously Langas as well, with obviously the departure of Erin Cashin. But now, hopefully, we know that there's conversations about investment, and obviously if Derby County get the right investment, and obviously Bromby is able to make those correct conversations when it comes to transfers and bringing those players, will be very interesting to see who we can actually end up bringing in. Now, obviously, when it comes to Bromby, what does that mean for Mark Thomas, the former recruitment lead? Now, from what I am aware, and I think this has been discussed in the public domain as well, is Mark Thomas's role has now changed. He now isn't the guy sort of overseeing the transfers. I believe is more in a talent identification role now, which will see him essentially, he's the guy identifying players and essentially putting them forward, but ultimately it'll be Bromby that then goes through the negotiations and makes sure these deals end up getting gone through, essentially. And that is the important thing heading into this with a guy as such as Leigh Bromby. It's making sure that we can sort of get the right players in the right positions and get everything that John Eustace essentially wants. Now, obviously, this is, yes, another role in the recruitment team that people are going to be talking about and going, and it's another role in this Sporting Intelligence unit that so far we probably don't really know if it's worked. Now, for me, I have no problems with putting someone in an interim period for that summer transfer window, because we already know it's going to be a crazy window. I think Derby County only have 10 senior players contracted past the end of this season. I'm not including Jake Rooney in that, because obviously he's not been involved this season and things like that. But we've got a very minute amount of players who next season are going to be good enough to continue playing, and the importance for Derby is making sure that whoever we bring in that recruitment role is going to be able to then go ahead and identify the right players to be able to push us further forward, essentially, because we've seen what John Eustace has done with obviously what he did with Blackburn Rovers, with what he did with Birmingham City, and is there a possibility that he could do that that Bromby could do this for Derby? Now, if Bromby can help Eustace find the right players, and you even look at some of the players that John Eustace has brought in at Blackburn, at Birmingham and things like that, and if Leigh Bromby can help put together that squad, I think Derby County are going to be in a great shape. Now, what does this actually mean for Derby County? Now, I don't think it actually changes anything as a fan would notice. It's more of an internal change. Will it mean we bring in better players? Ultimately, there's no guarantee. Does it mean that the players that we bring in will be more suited to what we want to do? Ultimately, again, we won't actually sort of know. And I think the big conversation that will be had over the course of the next sort of few weeks and months will be that conversation around sort of the seniority of the players we bring in, because we don't want too many experienced heads, we don't want too many youngsters, but we want enough of those peak age players, and that's going to be sort of the role that John Eustace and Leigh Bromby will have to put together this summer. And for me, I think that will be an excellent opportunity for Bromby. And obviously, as you know, if it does go well, then he could end up in that position in a more permanent role and less of an interim role. And I personally, I believe in these recruitment roles. I think they're really needed. Like, your recruitment analysts are important. Your scouts who go out and watch games. Your coaches that go out and watch games as well. I think they're all very, very important roles. But I think the most important role is having a shrewd negotiator at the top of the pile. And I do believe that Leigh Bromby will be a success at Derby County in the short term. The question about long term will obviously be sort of the discussion, and if he can sort of have a good summer window, maybe even a good January, then I think he could have like a long term position at Derby County. I think what people need to acknowledge when it comes to Bromby is his first season at Huddersfield Town. I think they finished 20th place, but his second season as head of football operations, I believe he brought in, I think it was Carlos Corberan as the head coach at Huddersfield, and they ended up getting to the Championship playoff final at the end of the next season. And I think I'm not saying that he's going to be the perfect man for the job. I'm not saying that he's going to be the guy that takes Derby County to the next level, and because ultimately we're never going to know the answer to that question, because there is some permanent transfers that were made while I was at Huddersfield Town that aren't necessarily what Derby County fans are going to want to be looking for. But we obviously don't know the situation regarding obviously the Huddersfield Town discussions and how much involved the coaches were and things like that. Whereas at Derby County, compared to Huddersfield, I think we have a lot more access behind the scenes when it comes to staff and things like that with recruitment and stuff like that. And hopefully, really, I do hope that Bromby now, when he's stepping into this role, can sort of push Derby County to the next level, finding the players that John Eustace wants, that maybe even Matt Gardner, Steve Round, all these people can have the say on. And I do think that there's massive, massive opportunity for Derby County to push forward. Obviously, we're not guaranteed in the Championship next season right now. We're still sort of awaiting that confirmation, which won't come until Saturday afternoon at earliest. It'll obviously all depend on what's going on with the other clubs around the grounds as things go on Saturday. But what I can say is, whatever league Derby County are in, I think we're going to be in a great position next season. Whether Bromby will be the man to take us forward in that recruitment department, I'm not entirely sure. We're going to have to wait and see how good he is at his job. But you can obviously let me know your thoughts down in the comments. I think, if I'm honest, I love these sort of recruitment roles. I love putting the focus on recruitment and having as many people as you can looking at different players. But I think there needs to be a clear understanding of who's in control. And obviously, personally, as a Derby County fan, we will never know how it's obviously going behind the scenes at Derby County, but you need to have a clear understanding of who's running it, who's making the final decisions, who's showing this is a player that we should buy to the manager and to the owner and things like that. And I do think that Bromby will potentially have the opportunity to be able to do that as the new recruitment lead in an interim basis at Derby County. So obviously, let me know your thoughts down in the comments if you have not done so already. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on that notification bell to stay tuned for all of your latest Derby County content. Obviously, the season comes to a close in just under a week's time now, but that won't be the end of daily content. Obviously, we might not be getting 2 videos a day, but there will be a video every single day. So make sure, if you have not done so already, that notification bell is turned on. You've hit the like button to help push this video to brand new audiences. And I'll catch you in my next video, which will be talking all about Derby County's permutations to survival.